Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy, and you're listening to my podcast, Vox&Hops, where I normally sit down with fellow metal musicians and talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. But on this week's Vox&Hops, I'm sitting down with a fellow craft beer podcaster. When I started doing Vox&Hops up here in Montreal, which is where I'm from, I started scouring the local scene to see who else was doing a beer podcast up here, and I kept seeing this guy, the BAOS, the BAOS, which is what I thought it was at the time, podcast. Turns out it's beer and other shit, which is funny and makes sense. And it happens to be Craig Thorn, who runs this, who is actually a hip-hop artist, which has, the least amount of things in common with me and metal. But we do get along on craft beer. So here it is. Here's my chat. Vox&Hops episode number 65 with Craig Thorn from the Beer and Other Shit, the BAOS Podcast.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
What's up, everybody? Today I'm in Montreal at Pub BreWskey, or BreWskey Brasserie Artisanale, and I'm with Craig Thorn, the host of the BAOS Podcast.
Yes, sir.
I always called it the BAOS Podcast.
That works too.
Okay, what does BAOS stand
It's
for?
beer and other shit.
Okay, there you go. That makes sense.
But long. I'll tell you the story if you like. It's a long thing, but yeah, it's a nice, clean way of advertising ourselves. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
I'm happy to have you. I've been following you on Facebook. You are the first non-metalhead
Have been
on Vox&Hops.
Nice.
I am in awe of all the stuff that you've been doing. You have many, many things that you do on the BAOS podcast. I'd love to hear your story. How did you get caught up into this crazy world of craft beer, of podcasting? Where did it all begin?
For sure. Shall we cheers?
Yes.
So the beer that we have here is conveniently here at BreWskey. They had the collaboration that we did with l'Espace Public called Bière de Vacances. It's a 4.5% creamsicle sour. With orange puree. This is we did it for the first time last year for Montreal with actual marmalade. Like, we made a reduction with oranges and limes and stuff. And then this one was done at Oshlag for the cans. It's the first canned version, and I'm super happy with it.
That's super, super cool.
Get in ya. Cheers. Nice. I love this, man. He did such a good job.
It tastes
like a creamsicle.
like an orange, or
right?
like a Stewart's orange pop.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is a bit more sour. A bit more sour.
A little bit more. The they did a version at the brew pub recently. There was 6.5%, and they just dialed it up. Dude, it was so sick. I wish they canned that one, because for me it was just it was way more opaque. It would kind of look like just pulpy orange juice. It was crazy, but they wanted something that actually tasted like beer. So this tastes like orange flavored beer.
That's correct. How does a beer like this come into creation? How involved were you in the idea of making it?
So we were involved with this because we did a podcast with l'Espace Public. I want to say it was January last year. Those guys are wild, super cool, super crazy. And we drunkenly mentioned it, but not everyone's serious. It's come up a bunch of times and doesn't always come to yeah, man, we should do a collab, whatever, right? And he followed up, because I guess we really got along. He's a musician as well. He's in a reggae band. He's a singer, kind of raps as well. You guys would get along so well. He's such a legend. So he hit us up, and I brought my co-host, who sort of isn't really co-hosting as much anymore. He's kind of backed away a bit, but he's, if he's around, he'll jump on. So he was in town for it. We went down and had a meeting with him, and we were well, let's do sours a lot. And they have a series of bold single color cans called Bière de Vacances. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So he was this was, I guess the first time around it was supposed to be just a one-off for Montreal, the festival in I think last year was May or June or something like that.
It's normally in between the two of them.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So Scott, my co-host, was let's do something with marmalade. And I was all right. So then we came up with that it was a marmalade sour with lactose, because that's my shit with the team lactose nonsense. And and what's it called? Mandarin Bavaria hops, because they have a strong orange forward flavor.
Yes.
So we came up with the recipe together. We did the brew day, like at the pub. I think they have 600-liter fermenters. So we did that, and we had a nice little launch party. Now, that beer, I didn't love that version as much because we drank way too much at the launch party. And it was one of them things where they had those like old school British pints, and like I'd get halfway and they'd take it off me and just fill it
Top it up every time.
So I didn't know
how
much I had, which is not wise for anybody. Drink responsibly. And that was the first night of Mondial. So it was kind of like the pre-Mondial launch party as well for the beer. And I had all these podcasts set up that week. It was just horrendous. I was struggling so hard. So that version was a little tainted for me. And then we did a blackberry, blueberry variant in February this year.
That's the one that I saw since I've been following the podcast.
You saw that one, okay. I didn't love that one. That one had a yeast called Sour Power from Dunham. Max at Dunham came up with that one. And it had this Brett in it, and the Brett didn't work so well for this style. And I was like, yo, let's do more lactose, you know. And so it was a little too sweet, a little too whatever. So then we're like, all right, what do we want to do? They wanted to can it. They came to us wanting to can. It was only our second can collab. So I was pretty excited to have the brand kind of, you know, on a can again. And we decided on this one. We polled the staff and everyone picked this variant. And when they did that version I just mentioned at the brew pub, and the Oshlag one, which of course we had nothing to do with because you're not allowed to unless you work there, they weren't allowed to make a marmalade reduction there probably because they don't have a food license.
I understand, yeah.
So then they just used the orange puree, the Oregon stuff, the aseptic one, and chucked that in. But I'm super happy with it. I'm not sure if this is the second or the first batch, though.
It tastes really fresh.
Is this the same that you can recall as the one you said earlier you had a can?
It might have been drank in late at night.
You know what? Well, you have another can, so you can tell me how you feel. I reckon it's not that sweet. I think this might still be the first batch.
It's pretty sour, this.
Yeah, it's like nice and crushable there.
Oh, it's very drinkable.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with it. So it's good. It's very perfect.
Let's go back to how you got into how craft beer became a big part of your life. Let's start with that.
Cool. I am from Melbourne, Australia, as people could probably tell. I moved to Canada in September 2010. We do hip-hop music, so this is why I was super interested to connect with you as well and have you on BOS, because it doesn't happen every day that there's sort of music. Normally, I don't get to talk to many musicians on this thing, so it's super cool. And you're clearly leagues above where we are because you're touring the damn world, so it's amazing. I definitely want to pick your brain on that. So I got here and we moved here for music. We had a small record deal in the States, like a little distro deal. My friends in Australia started January 1st, 2011, started this thing called 365 Days of Beer. So the idea was, and afterwards we'll have another beer that I haven't had, so I'll get you in a photo. You take a selfie with the beer, either in a labeled pint glass or with the can or bottle, which I don't really do anymore, but whenever I can. Number it, and then I wrote a little review. And the idea wasn't one beer per day, but to get 365 in a year. And of course, I didn't know jack. I drank lagers from across the world, macro lagers, so I thought I was pretty worldly at the time. So I was like, well, there's not 300 beers, so there's not 300 countries, and there can't be really more than 1 or 2 beers per country. So
surprise,
it's not going to happen, right? Yeah, exactly. So 7 months later, I finished it, and I was like, yo, okay. And it forced me to drink. I'm a little OCD a bit, so I like the number side of it to just like collecting, I guess. So it made me keep going. So I ended up just trying beers that I normally wouldn't look into. And I discovered all these crazy flavors and all these interesting styles and did the typical, move from lagers to like ambers to porters and stouts, and then the IPAs and English and American and all this stuff. This was 2011, so it was like a nice discovery period. Kept doing it, became the default beer guy after with the numbers and stuff, because most people don't do that. I guess I'll publicly put it out there. I mean, I guess in the way I did it.
And you were publishing it on Instagram?
Oh, initially, no, actually. It was on Facebook and Tumblr.
Okay.
And that's where it came. And it was just like my my handle on social, C4CWFOR. And I think I had a Tumblr at that. And then someone was like, you should brand it. And I was like, all right, what do I call it? I'm like, I don't know, it's my Tumblr. So I had Instagram at the time, and I just synced everything to it. So I was like, I know beer and other shit, I guess. That's the other stuff as well. So I was like, fine. So I just changed it to beer and actually verbatim.tumblr.com. I bought the beerandothershit.com's domain and forwarded it there, and then it kind of stuck. And people kept saying, do a book with all the reviews. As it kept growing and growing, I did 1,000, I think, by a year.
1,000 beers?
No, it was 2 years. Initially, I've done 1,000 in a year since, which is absurd. So I'm starting to have some problems over here, man.
I have questions about that too.
Yeah, I know how to stop it. It's just
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. So I just kept going, became that beer guy. People said to do a book. I was actually starting to seriously talk to people about collating them all together, maybe helping me put it together in a book or something. And then my girlfriend and I started listening to podcasts. We own a social media agency as well. That's our full-time thing. And we're listening to podcasts and business and entrepreneurial stuff. She's like, why don't you listen to beer podcasts? I was like, good idea. And I looked around, and it was just like middle-aged dudes talking in very low tones about pale ales, and I was like, this is just yawn, dude. There's nothing for me. Like, no one's talking to me.
Your age group.
Like a 30-something.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm 18 anyway.
Who loves great craft beers.
Yeah, and just casual and not super nerdy. Like,
That's right.
And welcoming. I didn't feel welcome with anyone. So I was like, my friend Scott started the 365 thing with me as well. We lived together at the time in Toronto before I moved here, and I was like, dude, you want to do a podcast? He's like, well. So at the time, we didn't have the Zoom like we had my music studio mic. So I had the Valve mic, and on that little external thing, you just put it to infinity so we could both sit
That's right, yeah.
next to it. And we just record it at home. He'd come up, we'd do like 5 30-minute, 40-minute episodes in a day, just pick a beer, pick a topic, talk about it, cuss a lot, whatever, right? That was sort of how it started, kept going that way. Just started interviewing a few people we knew who were DJs or like rappers and people we knew and stuff. And then I can't remember how it even grew. It was just totally not a serious thing. And then breweries, I think we got in touch with one brewery called Sweetgrass in Toronto. She was on, that was episode 21, I believe. And we're up to 140, doing 145 tomorrow. So
it's amazing.
Going
Congrats.
pretty quick.
Congrats.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and just kept going from there. And breweries, we started reaching out, I guess, and meeting different people. And it kind of just organically happened. It was supposed to be my side project to release the tension of music and business, because music does my head in, and business is always a bit of a nightmare. So it was my fun creative project that now became a major part of what we do. It's kind of strange.
What do you think was the defining moment for the BAOS podcast?
You know, it was weird. I wouldn't even really want to go into it too much because it was negative, but this one night, it was actually yesterday, 3 years ago, because it came up in my Facebook messages. I was on mushrooms at home, just chilling, drinking a beer. My friend sent me this sign that said cheers, C words on there, and that's an Australian, I don't know, probably say a little bit harsh language for this type of thing, but I took the selfie next to it.
You're from Australia. It's not a bad word in Australia.
No, exactly,
yeah.
Right? This dude...
And you can say whatever you want. It's cunt.
Oh, okay, cool. I was trying to be a little more...
No, we don't have to.
Cussed yet? Okay,
but
cool.
we don't have to.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I was... I like to mirror...
Yeah.
Even though this is your podcast,
Of
I
course.
started cussing
Yes.
first. But, I took the photo next to it, and then this dude came and started attacking me. Go, oh, that's not inclusive. Take it down. I'm like, dude, relax. Like, I don't even know who you are.
I'm from Australia.
I'm from Australia. It's my
It's
cultural
not a
thing.
bad
Then he's like,
word.
it's not a bad word. And he went and tagged a whole bunch of people that were Ontario beer writers and stuff, and then started this 3-day Twitter war. And
Really?
a whole bunch of people hated us because of that without even giving us a chance. I didn't know any of these people existed. I had no idea there was a beer scene on Twitter, online, or wherever. And that caused a whole bunch of problems. But the best part, our numbers went through the fucking roof. It was beautiful.
Since then,
And he's
yeah.
apologized and like regretted. I'm like, yeah, cool.
No, you should say thank you.
Yeah, thanks, bro. You know who he is. So that was I think, strangely enough, the defining moment. So we took the role of the bad guy then. Now, I think there's a couple of people. No, I know there's a couple, because it pops up here and there. People still bring it up. I'm like, are you fucking serious, dude?
Like, how did you handle it at the moment? Were you defensive? Or
Extraordinarily defensive. It was me versus like 50 people ganging up on me.
Okay.
And like, dude, I took it too far and that won it and shut everybody down, because I'm like, you can't, like, they're all, to be fair, like, they're pussies. They're all nerds, all these people. And like, you can't fuck with me. Like, I will say things that you'll never say. I'm scummier than you. I will say way harsher things that will make you blush and cry. So I won that because they left me alone because I was saying way harsher things. And then I was kind of regretted that in hindsight, because I let trolls get the better of me. And I tried to not do that now. But we don't really get it anymore. Now it's like, dude, like we're going in a couple weeks. We work with tourism offices around Virginia, sending us down there for a week. We've worked with Colorado. Vermont has sent us out to the places. Like, we've been, A&W sent us out to Winnipeg for a commercial campaign. Like, the brand is now strong, so I can't behave like that anymore. And that was 3 years ago, and I don't really regret it because it worked out, but like, I don't feed the trolls anymore. So
Yeah, and you see that reminder and you're like, oh yes.
yeah, and when it came up, I was like, it makes me feel sick, to be honest. When I saw the photo, and I wrote the next beer photo was like an explanation of stuff, basically what I like, hey, this is in very calm way. But then because all of these people started like these are drama. When I'm being mean to them because I don't like them, I would normally not say that about somebody else, but they do suck. They're not nice humans. They're miserable. They've just wanted to complain about something, and they still do that now. They're not just complaining about me. There's always a drama in that world. So I happen to be the
trust me, I believe it. From the world of death metal.
Yeah, same thing,
elitist death metal.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, long story short, I joined Cryptopsy. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a metalcore singer.
When did you join
deathcore in 2007.
2007.
But they picked me because they wanted me to be different. They wanted them to be different. They wanted their sound to be different.
Okay.
And I delivered what they wanted.
Okay.
And the fans hated it. So I know what trolls are all about.
So they came pretty hard at you? And,
yes, absolutely. But I've learned over the years I try not even to read reviews anymore.
Right.
Which is a tremendously hard thing to do late at night when you're drunk.
And you want to know what people think about what you're doing. It's your art, it's your creative output. So is this for you as well. And you want to know what people think. You want to know... you want to test the litmus test on the audience and see what the vibe is. Mm-hmm. But the negative stuff, it's really, you gotta look. I'm like, oh, that's like...
The worst thing is, though, you can read 10 positive ones.
And you only remember
the
negative.
And one negative one out of the 10 is the one that you'll remember. And all the other ones mean nothing. Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous?
So I try not to even...
Good.
Like when we drop a new YouTube video, like when it's the first song of a new release that we're releasing, I'll religiously watch the numbers and see what's going on. But now at this point, I don't even read. I haven't gone back to see the new comments because
just put it out and that's
who cares?
It.
And I will move on to the next
matter,
things.
right?
Yeah.
What's it going to do? Is it going to stop you? It's not going to change the way. If someone's constructively criticizing, maybe.
Sometimes they're right.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. Very, very few and far between, I would say, for the most part.
Back to the podcast.
Yes.
You guys do a lot of things. You got the male beer.
Yes.
Which I think is just so cool. Let's talk about that. How did that all come together?
So the BML stuff came about, I think the very first one, there was they're defunct now. They were called Brewster Box or something, and they reached out. They're like, hey, if we give you one of the boxes, would you do a video on it? And we were told by a market, just to bring it back slightly, we were just an audio podcast at first, and then we were told by a marketer friend that we met to just film it, dude. Even if it sucks, just film it. We're like, okay, and we just bought a camera a few months before. So we started filming episode 15 in.
Really?
And my girlfriend had I don't know if you know about cameras or if anyone does, but we had a Canon T6i, pretty entry level, and we had a 50mm lens handheld. It looked like Blair Witch. It's with no image stabilization, just boom, shaky and shit. And she had the 50s are quite wide, so she had to sit kind of far away to even get just your head and shoulders in. It was really bad. So we did that, and then we were putting podcasts every 2 weeks, and we're like, well, we need videos for every other week. We should do more videos. So we started a thing called Versus, where we were comparing two similar-ish beers or as close as I could to see which one we liked the best. And sometimes I'd do it myself, bring a friend, with Scott, whatever. Then the BML started with that first one, and then maybe people saw that and just kept sending us beer. And it's got to the point now that it's we're going away on Saturday for 2 weeks for 2 client campaigns, one with Virginia, and we're doing another one for another client. And I'm so stressed because I'm gonna have to bring stuff to Jamaica to do it because I have to. These beers are gonna die if I don't do the video. I mean, look, I'm not expected to. It's PR, right? PR means they send it to you in the hopes of doing it, but I also need the content. So it's
and you want to have a good client relationship.
Yeah, I want to keep them happy. And the good thing is I don't really get sent bad beers.
They know your palate.
They know
point.
They have to, right? I mean, sometimes you get sent stuff that's not the greatest, but for the vast, I keep it really positive because I just I sit in front of them and look these individuals in the eye who are spending $500,000, $1 million on building these places and put their heart and soul into this product and this brewery. Who am I to go and shit on their hopes and dreams by this beer is trash? People do that. And
people absolutely do that.
Same as you said for the music, right? You put everything into that.
Every beer is good in its own nature.
Yeah. What I always say is that everyone has its own. I mean, sometimes there's an objectively bad beer that's off style. That's
or it's just something has gone wrong with the chemicals of it, the measurements or the
and it's bad
turned
can or bad bottle. It's turned exactly. Yeah. But I always say, you know what? I know this is well made. It's not for me, but if you're into this style, give it a try. Yeah. And that's what I find is my. No one's really said anything that they think that's more what's the word, a cop-out.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been trying to be a little more honest lately. Not that I was dishonest before, but maybe trying to be nicer. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just sort of this kind of tastes a bit funny. It's not really my thing, but whatever. Trying to be, I'm still not bashing things, but just being a little more not loving everything.
It is someone's baby.
Yeah, like this was our baby. But if people don't like, I don't know. I didn't physically put the ingredients in, so I'm not offended if people don't like. I'm like, cool. Like a lot of people don't like lactose, so whatever. That's up to them. But yeah, the beer mail has become a nice little content thing. It's a nice way to promote good beers. And I sometimes, say if we do a podcast and they'll send us away with beers, I will say, yeah, I'll do a video. And most of the time they're like, no, don't like, you know.
No, this is for you. You don't have to do that.
And I'm like, I always do because I kind of find it's a waste. If not, I don't know. I just want to always make sure that there's something.
And you're pushing the product, and they were good to you, and sending more people there.
Yeah, and like if I don't know, I don't really interview not cool people. I'm quite lucky. I'm sure, same as you, right? Like,
but I think most brewers, it's a passion of love. It's very close to music. I say it all the time. You know, you spend months crafting an album, learning how to play an instrument versus learning how to brew a beer. It's very similar. A lot of shit goes into making an album, making a song. A lot of shit goes into making a beer.
Yep, 100%.
More than people think.
Yes, just
to pour it down the drain.
Yeah, right. And I find that sort of passion, maybe because I'm a musician as well, I can relate to the passion side. Because a lot of the time, the brewers are the artistic type of individuals. The owners, sometimes they're brewers, sometimes they're just marketers, sometimes they're the money person. So everyone has their own motivation for getting into it. But the owner brewers are usually the ones who are like, you know, all heart type of thing.
Let's bring it closer to home, closer to me. What is your favorite local brewery? Quebec, Montreal.
In Montreal.
In Quebec, let's say.
In Quebec, probably Brasserie du Bas Canada.
Absolutely.
Have you had a bunch of their stuff?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Of course.
Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, they're exceptional because that's my, the haze or whatever is my favorite stuff. Like we were just saying before, I really enjoying BreWskey. It's probably my favorite brew pub in Montreal. Just because it's beautiful. It's a brand new tap room, high ceilings. Cool
right on the old port.
Right on the old port.
Yeah.
Great out in summer. This back patio is the first summer for it. They've got like a 32 plus beers tonight. It's not just their stuff, hence why we're having this. But generally, they have a bunch of good stuff. It's probably the only I always bitch about. No one in Montreal makes haze well or regularly.
Yeah,
and
no, I can feel that with you there.
I'm like,
maybe a Lagavulin, but it's not in Montreal.
That's what I'm saying, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can go to a dep and get fire. You get Lagavulin all the time. You get Boreal Nord-Est.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you'll get Bar Canada. There's a bunch of others as well, but there's no brew pub with a regular New England
local
on tap
haze.
Yeah, although funnily enough, the one time we're here, they don't have any of their own.
They do have Catnip though, which is from Quebec City though.
Yep, not them. They're fantastic. I would say that, and L'Espace Public somewhat biased because we've done a few collabs.
A good relationship with them.
Good relationship, but like it's always a fun time. It's always way too wild. And whenever people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, I'm going to Montreal. Where do I need to go?" And I've got this list in my notes in my phone. Like, bam, all right, here you go. And everyone always says the best time they have is at L'Espace.
Really?
Because it's like
I've never been. You know,
never been. Oh, yeah. It's total small, pubby, cozy, and just I don't know. It's wild. Something about it is like if you want to get like fucked up, like that's where you gotta go.
Let's transition into that.
Yes.
How the relationship. I don't know if you're the same as me.
Yep.
I fucking love craft beer. I know you do too. It's a fine line between tasting beers and then getting to that point where you're just drinking it for the sake of it.
Yes.
How do you handle that?
I don't drink. I reckon I wouldn't drink as much if I didn't have to. I'm in a weird position where I have to drink. It's because I have the beer. It's first world problems. And I'm not complaining, but I have to. Like I finish here, I've got these other videos at home, and I don't have the largest tolerance, so I have to like kind of ask my girlfriend ahead. She tries to be keto on the keto diet, so not many carbs. She breaks it a lot because in summer it's so hard to stick to.
And with beer,
it's impossible. She has a wine, coffee, and spirits platform that's our sister one to BOAS that we leverage to get the tourism things and stuff like that. And she's the producer of the podcast. She's the one who's filming and editing anyway, so it kind of works out well. So I have to go home and I'll be like, hey, are you cool to like help me tonight? Because I don't want to drain that, or I drain pour them, and I don't want to drain pour them because I'm not at that point. The brewers are just throwing me down the drain. I'm not comfortable.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's a little ungrateful or something. A lot of them are just like, don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but so I have to try to. I feel like if I didn't have to, I would drink 1 or 2 nights a week for sure.
I feel like when I do take breaks, I enjoy the beers better.
So much more. And I just get like palate fatigue or just over it in general. And I try to take one way to balance, I guess, coming back to the original question. Say if I had a regular week where everything was in my control, I would probably do 3 to 4 nights off. Like 1 or 2 on, 1 or 2 off, and just depending on how I'm feeling. So like I didn't drink yesterday. My buddy was like, dude, no. So I was like, cool. And I was like, well, I knew this was tonight. So because you too, yeah. I was like, I'm seeing that tonight. Let me. I know I'm drinking then. I'll be able to go home, do a couple more videos. Tomorrow night we're going to go to St. T to interview Ala Foot.
Nice.
And stay there overnight. So then that's going to be a bunch of beer. And blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to, like, in my head, just like, okay, how can I take the breaks whilst making sure that these beers that I've received don't die?
It's so cool.
So
it's a good problem to have. It's a good
very,
problem. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm then also trying, therefore, to manage
That's my next, what I was thinking. I try to stay in manageable shape.
What do you do?
I lift weights and walk a lot. But craft beer is just so good. And the nights that I'm not drinking, I'm ingesting about... Some nights it could be close to 2,000 calories less.
Right. That's true, because they're probably about 500 a pop.
The ones that we like are like 250, 300 a pop.
Minimum.
So you're imagining that when we were going out and having 5 pints.
Right. It's just adding right up.
Yeah.
So you're right. When you do, I try to do the same thing. Walk everywhere. We're going to live in Milan, so everything's quite walkable. So we try it in summer. Like in winter, of course, it sucks. But every day we're trying to make sure we walk as much as we can. We have a gym. We're in a building, so we have a gym. So we try and get in that as much as we can. And we try not to eat carbs a lot.
Yes, because you're drinking them.
You're drinking them. So say we don't buy bread. We very, very rarely buy like chips or snacks like that are carb focused. We try and eat like the breakfast is no carbs type of thing. Like maybe lately we've been a little bit lazy buying some chips.
It's summertime.
It's summer, so like whatever, But yeah, that's usually what I found is like if you're going to be drinking the carbs, cut down on the food.
Because basically what beer is liquid bread.
Essentially. Yeah. It's got everything we need. Why are we even eating? Yeah,
but then the worst part is when I drink, I feel like I have to, because I eat rather very well.
Okay.
And I'll like stop eating at a certain time and go to bed and I'm fine. But if I've been drinking, I have to have an extra meal.
Right.
So on top of having the extra
calories from the beer,
I have an extra 200-300 from a snack.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
You have to though. Like you're having the beer, it's like goes well with some whatever it is, whatever your little snack of choice, some sort of chips or some shit, and it's like a hard thing to manage. And I think I'm seeing there's like two sort of sides to it. I'm seeing a lot of people in craft beer, clearly overweight and probably not so happy about it. But I'm seeing also a kind of a wave of maybe people who are focusing on fitness now and are, trying to, they're posting a lot on social. We had worked with this client in LA. They're called Crowns and Hops. They're
Crowns and Hops.
They
suing them.
I know, right? You should sue them. God damn it. They the two African Americans. They were running this company called Dope and Dank, and that turned into this. And they were doing events for people of color to get diversity into beer, and then they got a $200,000 grant from BrewDog to open a brewery.
Wow.
So we helped them with their crowdfunding campaign. They hit the goal, and now they're sort of in the process of building the brewery. And they started a thing just as we were finishing working with them called hashtag Summer Beer Body to lead up to the what's it called, 4th of July in the States. And they were having like crazy how many people were getting into it, showing their workouts, sharing the screenshots from their apps, from their workout apps and stuff. And that was a really cool positive thing for the community, I think, because it wasn't they have a mixed fan base or follower base, but I was seeing people everywhere, and because sort of like their personal friends before we worked with them, a lot of my people, because I was in their account, I was seeing a lot of my friends like share this stuff and hashtag it and tag them and stuff. I was like, all right, this is really cool. Like it's crossing borders. It's really getting people focusing on fitness, and sort of like, that another hashtag is like earn your beer.
Yeah,
I love that. I think that's so positive, man. And I think
if you can work out and then you can drink a beer, it balances out.
Exactly it.
That would be beautiful.
And breweries should be encouraging it. And I think that's why it was cool that they did it, because they're a burgeoning brewery about to open next year, and to be focusing on the fitness of their clientele. At the end of the day, that's you got to keep them alive. You can't just be shoving beer down people's faces
for longer.
For longer. They can drink more, drink for me longer. So I think that's a really cool movement that's been happening lately, and it's inspired me too.
Something that I used to do my podcast has only been started since it's going to be a year soon.
Yeah, if you're into the 50s,
I used to do a sober month per year.
Okay.
And now I feel like this year I felt like I couldn't.
No, because you're probably too deep in this.
Or I'd have to do it with every interview I do for a certain month. I'd have to bring them non-alcoholic beer and then share that with people.
Well, what I heard, and just to make your life a little bit easier, I saw this dude who was like a major beer writer in Ontario was talking about, instead of doing dry January or whatever it is, take 2 days off per week, and that works out to be 104 days a year versus the 31 days in January. So I've tried to go the 3 to 4 days a week when, like I said, when things are in my control, when things are crazy and I've got shit to do, it is what it is. But if you just try and keep when you don't have interviews, I've got 2 interviews this week, so I got to have at least 3 days off when I'm not able to. And if you're in a city or on tour, you're about to go on, I'm sure you could probably figure it out. Where even if there's a brew pub, I'll get stuff to go instead of drinking there, and I'll save it for the next thing or whatever. So there's I feel like there's a constant
That's cool then. That's a good idea.
Shuffling,
yeah.
But that might take the pressure off you to be dude, those dry months, they don't work. You're just annoyed the whole time, and it's
I wouldn't drink non-alcoholic beer when I did.
What do you think?
About non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah,
I
have you
have
had it?
Le Bacal is the best.
It's by far the best, but it tastes like
Watery.
sparkling hot water, which is dope. So good. I want that for breakfast.
I have some alcoholic friends, and I've turned them towards that.
Yeah, to try and balance it out of it.
Then they enjoy it.
They like it?
Yeah, they enjoy it.
It was surprisingly good. And they've got the they do the stout, and I think there's a
stout is actually not
good?
so bad. The Berliner Weiss works
Berliner was the other one
because it's already light as it is.
Right.
The IPA I can't handle. I need a strong IPA.
Strong one. I only had the
Echo
IPA.
is good though.
Yeah, Echo. They're our new client too.
I was
actually
very surprised. Yeah.
Nice, good. I'm glad you tried that. Yes, they're our client. They actually hired our company
They're
recently
really good.
for their launch, and they sold out all their beer in 1.5 days. So we're so proud of them.
Wow.
Such good guys, man. They were hustling, and they're a contract brewery, and they weren't too sure, and they were listening to everything we said, and that on the marketing side of things, breweries.
It looks good too.
Tend to suck, yeah. That wasn't us because we were consulting and strategy for these guys. The guy, one of the owners are TV directors. They direct programs on Quebec television.
That's why all the shots are
That's why the
great.
shots are exceptional, right? Because he walks around with a 5D everywhere he goes. So their shots are sick, but he listens to everything. And breweries, for some reason, don't take marketing seriously. Coming back to what we said before about the owners being brewers. If there's an owner brewer, they don't care about marketing. They think
their
if you brew it, they'll come. It's a craft.
like a musician.
Like a musician.
I'm going to put out a great album. I don't need a label.
Everyone's going to listen, man. Dude, no. I mean, you don't need a label technically, but it would help, at least for distro and marketing or whatever. But a lot of people don't understand how important social is and what impact that actually has on your business and growing that community around your brand and controlling your brand's, the conversation around it, whether it's positive or negative online. If something's negative, you need to address it and take ownership. And if it's positive, you need to give them not reassurance, what's the word? I don't know. Go if someone's saying, "Hey, man, I'm loving this beer," go "Hey, like the comment, "Hey, oh yeah, thanks
show them your gratitude."
Thank you. Be grateful and just engage with the people who are bothering to talk about your product or post about your product at all times.
They'll become ambassadors for your brand.
Yeah,
is what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have this beer people are like that. They like taking pictures of it. They like knowing the brewer. If they get to meet the owner or the brewer, it's like a point.
It's like
of
a rock
pride.
star thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And the brewer, a lot of them are just sure, whatever.
They're probably introverted, nerdy dudes.
A lot of them are in the coolest way possible.
Yeah,
as opposed to the bad way on the Twitter people. But the brewers are generally they're cool as hell, man. They're just trying to make a good product, and they're grateful when people enjoy it. And I think that's a consistent thing. So the marketing around beer is something that we're passionate about because it's such a low hanging fruit, and so many breweries and wineries as well. We notice miss the boat completely. It's it's a shame, but that's what we're trying to do on our business side is work with as many breweries as we can to help them step their game up.
And you're right in the loop with everything.
Yeah, it's not really that difficult. I mean, maybe for me it's not because it's second nature, I guess. But once they get into the swing of it, it's just you got to make it a part of your day-to-day habits or whatever it is. Whether it's you getting your team to do it or you get an external person to do it, but it's just got to be done properly. you're missing opportunities, and you want to grow, and craft is growing. We need to beat out these big boys, right? Like, so the only way to do it is to attract more people, to keep letting people know about it. I'm not more diverse. There's only so many white dudes with beards you can get drinking beer. So we have to get everybody involved in good beers for everybody. So we need to, like, breweries really need to think about this. And that's why someone from Les Pas has been talking to us about, like, on a casual basis, like, how do we do it? He's like, actually listen. They're like, yo, what do we do? And no one else has said that to us. Like, how do we get everyone in? And we're like, we don't know either, but like, we got a few ideas. So we're trying to sort of encourage using the sort of relationships that we have with breweries, and also because of the podcast, we get to talk to them in a way that most people don't. So trying to, like, point the industry in the best possible direction however we can.
It's fucking cool.
Yeah, man, doing what we can.
How did you develop your lingo, your descriptions when describing beers?
Repetition over time. I have no idea what I'm doing even to this day. Someone asked me the other day, like, hey, you got any tips for reviews? I'm like, I don't know. You just say shit what you think. Like I read other people's stuff, and I listen to what other much smarter people than me say, particularly because I sit with the brewers and hang out with them for hours, so I get to hear what they say. I got a few friends who are beer writers. They use much bigger words than I do, because you'll see, I'll write it really quickly here while we're having a beer, having a conversation, whilst I'm having the conversation with you, and cool, put my phone down and keep going. So I'm not like soaking it up like some other reviewers are. So I want to do the BJCP, the Beer Judge Certification Program, or whatever.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, so basically, if you want to judge beer award, like a beer award contest or whatever, you have to. Oh, funnily enough, right behind you is Derek the brewer. That's hilarious, and Zach from Porno. That's hilarious. If you want to judge it, you need to have you need to be certified. So there's like they teach you like off flavors, like how to identify diacetyl and like all the other negative aspects of a beer to show that it's off. You need to I think they get you to actually what it is. The only thing with BJCP, it's like in a box, true to style. So like if something funky and fun like this creamsicle sour is not going to win shit.
No, because it doesn't fall into the box.
It doesn't fall enough, right? I mean, it might if there's some sort of other category that somehow it squeezes in.
A funky sour.
Yeah, right.
Category,
Maybe fruited sours. It could actually. Now I think about it, but it's a lot of like the stuff that maybe you and I would enjoy. A lot of it wouldn't be winning awards because it needs to fit certain style guidelines, and that's what the BJCP is. So I was considering doing that. I think it's less than $1,000 to get certified to do the course, and then there's like the Cicerone, which is the American one, the Prud'homme, which is the Canadian one, and there's levels of that. And then I don't know how much I really care, but I just wanted like a deeper knowledge of it. It wouldn't help. I've judged homebrew contests before, but I wouldn't be able to judge a real thing because I really go, do I like it? Do I not like it?
Exactly.
Is it bad? Yeah. Like blah, blah, blah. So that's generally how I would come up with it. Just trying to like soak up as much knowledge and just pay attention to people much smarter than I am.
It's a long, long way from your first beer.
It really is. Like the first beer I did on the review was Moosehead, which I liked, I think, at the time. Yeah, from the beer number 1. I'm going to do beer 5000 next week.
Wow.
So I'm trying to find something good for that. I've got something. The only thing I have in, because we're supposed to go to Jamaica on Saturday, I'm still waiting for the confirmation, but I have to make sure I bring something to do it there because I want to take some sort of epic photo, and I don't have any crazy stuff in my cellar that would be appropriate for the 1000 beer. So I got I did a trade the other day, got an other half Equilibrium triple IPA. So I guess that's pretty fire. I heard it was really good. It's called Shook Ones Part 2, so it's a hip hop reference, which I enjoy. So I might do that one, I'm thinking, since this will come out long after the 5000 beer. I guess you guys could take a look and find out.
Yes.
So yeah, just repetition over time. Keep doing it. Keep drinking. Just write what you think, and maybe someone will tell you something better. It's beautiful.
Well, Craig, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Pleasure, brother.
Drinking a beer.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To the creamsicle.
Yeah.
Bière de Vacances. It's delicious. Thank you so much, Craig.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening right to the end. Craig, I love you, brother. We have subsequently, since recording this conversation, Craig has had me on the BAOS podcast, and I will include the link to that in the description. It was such a great chat, such a great night. We went on for 3.5 hours. We tasted 8 delicious, unbelievable beers. You guys should check that out. It's almost like an extension to this conversation. Craig also influenced me and encouraged me to start hitting up some local brewers, which I have done, and I've started releasing my Vox&Hops Brewer Talks. On Tuesday, I have 2 of them which have been released. You should check them out. I have one from Matera, Brasseurs Tonnelier, and I also just released one with Sean from Avant-Garde Artisan Brasseur. Excellent interviews, excellent people, and an excellent idea from the great Craig from the Beer and Other Shit podcast, the BAOS Podcast. Make sure you check out the other episode that I dropped today with Casper, the guitarist of Hate Sphere. Super interesting chat, super interesting chap. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have a great week. And remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.